In this video, we're going to use Subboom Bass to create a nice pad to go with our house track. Let me play the track for you real quick. So here we have the chords, but as you can hear, it's just playing a sine wave, and that's basically because this is set to the default setting, and we have it play mode set to mono. So we want to change that. First, let's change it to poly, and let's play this track back again. Okay, so the first thing to decide is what waveform we want to choose. And we can choose sine, we can use saw, square. Now, if we choose saw, we can adjust the sub oscillator to bring some of that sine frequency back in on the sub lows, or go the opposite direction for square. This also changed the second waveform by enabling oscillator number 2. And use something like a sine saw. We can pitch this down an octave. We can also detune them from each other by a couple cents by adjusting the fine on oscillator 1 counterclockwise, and then adjusting the same parameter on oscillator 2 the opposite direction. This way sounds a little rich and more fatter. Okay, cool. Let's play around with our filter now. So we'll increase the envelope and bring down the cutoff. And now let's play around with our attack, decay, sustain, and release settings. Now, because the notes played on the track are actually short, we can do two things. We can increase the release on the amp to make them longer. Cool, so let's go ahead and play the track back and see where we're at with the track. Now, I think it's okay. We were able to extend the chords out by increasing the release on the envelope for the amp and the envelope for the filter. But I think I want to try something different. I think I want to try stretching the notes out in legato mode first, and then we have a little bit more flexibility with the envelopes. So for this inside of the MPC, I'm just going to lengthen these. Done. And let's go back to Subboom Bass and let's reset the release here on the envelope for the filter and the envelope for the amp. Now we can affect the overall decay release shape right here. And now let's apply a little bit of effects. If you want to do some automation, you can automate the envelope here so that you can make the track brighter as the song progresses. Now, another cool thing to do when you're messing around with pads, especially if you want to make them dark and then bright by messing around with the envelope, is by using some kind of pumper effect after it. This is also known as sidechain compression from the kick. So you can do this with a number of plugins. There's one that I use from Air Music Tech. It's called the Air Pumper, as you can see by the name there. And judging from this shape, it's pretty much creating a quarter note pump. Let me show you what it sounds like. I'll solo this, play it from the top. So it's that classic sidechain sound effect that you have. So we have our pad sound that we created with subboom bass. By adjusting the envelope, we can write automation and make this start in dark and then make it bright as the song progresses. So go ahead and play this with our track, see what it sounds like. Now, another thing that we can do using the free modulation is assign the envelope to the global pitch. So when we increase this amount, it's going to affect the overall pitch of our sound. Now, by default with these settings, it's going to sound a little bit drastic, so we're going to mess around with the sustain and the decay and see if we can get a little more attack out of our sound without necessarily affecting the pitch. So let's go ahead and solo this track again and play it from the top. See, so right there and then it automatically changed the pitch, and we don't want that. So we are going to increase the amount here where it is, but we're going to mess around with the decay and the sustain settings. Here we go. So you can hear that by adjusting the amount here on the envelope and by adjusting the decay, we get this nice little shape buildup of the pitch, but it doesn't sound like it's out of key. So let's play that with the track and see if it fits. The other thing that we could have done with the oscillators, instead of using a sine saw, here on oscillator number 2, we could have used a noise. So we could have used white noise or pink noise to introduce this very bright sound. Definitely you have to adjust the volume here. So let's see what that does for us. So one trick that I'm going to do is on oscillator 1, we have saw, and we're going to turn this sub oscillator to the right so that we get saw and square out of the first oscillator. So we don't have to use the square on the second oscillator. Oscillator 2 can be dedicated to the noise. So let's see where we're at with that. So as you can hear, by using blending a little bit of white noise with our pad sound, especially for breakdowns, we can get this really wash sound especially for buildups and that sort of thing. So that's how you use sub and bass with the poly play mode to create some really killer pad sounds.